Efilism, or extreme antinatalism, is most simply thought of as the belief or rationalization that all sentient beings should cease reproduction. Two of the main arguments of the Efilist are 1. Pain and pleasure are asymmetrical in terms of their value, and 2. Bringing a person into existence without their consent is immoral. The main distinction between Efilism and traditional antinatalism is that the Efilists extend this view to all sentient beings, not just humans. Because the unborn cannot consent, we shouldn't birth them into a world of pain, suffering, and death, according to this philosophy, but I don't think we should interpret this concept as a negative one, since the goal is to eliminate or reduce suffering, although it is flawed and limited, as I'm about to discuss. Addressing the first argument, that there's an inherent asymmetry between pain and pleasure, reveals a fatal flaw in this perspective. Pleasure and pain are symmetrical in the sense that they can both be reduced to positive and negative stimuli, or simply information, and in the sense that they're both opposing sides of an experiential wave. Pleasure cannot exist in a vacuum any more than the crest of a wave can exist without the trough, so we quite literally need pain in order for pleasure to exist. There's nothing objectively better or worse about any stimuli or information in general. It only has value with respect to an individual organism or perspective, and from any point or position, there will be higher and lower, better and worse things. You could even argue that pain and negative stimuli are essential for an existing being, especially organics, because they help us avoid life-ending mistakes and errors, where positive ones like pleasure are less essential on a moment-to-moment basis. Without the presence of information about the negative, the painful, and the potentially deadly, survival to biological maturity would likely be uncommon for everything from a single cell to human beings. Tackling the second argument, that bringing a person into existence without consent is wrong or immoral, we find more stable footing, firmer, philosophical ground. Because pain is essential and inescapable, because suffering is common, and because we can't consult a non-existing being about their desire or interest in living, we can never know whether we're doing something that will contribute to the subjective betterment from the perspective of the yet-to-be entity. Deciding that a living being should exist or cease to exist isn't something we can ever know to be a right action in an absolute and objective sense. And considering we're speaking about sentient beings capable of great suffering, that's how right we need to be for moral action. While Efilism is a sound argument, expanding our view and enriching our understanding informs us that suffering isn't an inescapable reality for humans or other life the way pain is. If you grant any significance to Buddhist teachings, yogic practice, or my own philosophy, you know that suffering is the result of human error, insufficient skill, and an insufficient understanding, not an indelible feature of human existence. This means that the potential for suffering, an unnecessary and escapable condition, isn't a rationally justifiable motivation for ending reproduction entirely. So, if suffering isn't a good reason to cease reproduction, and we can't morally decide to have children or end life, what are we supposed to do? We act on an individual basis, doing what we believe to be most right or best for ourselves and for those incapable of doing so independently. And if children result from our actions and our decisions, we simply accept them as products of nature and the universe, and we embrace them as we would an invaluable gift.